Ryvv eventually finished his shift, getting ready to leave and then clocking out. The duration of the rest of his shift was only 1.5 hours, but to him, it felt more like 3, since the thought of meeting up with her friends and meeting their parents for the first time would pop up in his mind every other minute. 𝓂𝓪 and 𝓑𝓴 were peculiar to Ryvv himself, but their outward appearance wasn't too out of the ordinary, especially with Ryvv being a dragonkin himself. Ryvv brought himself home via his old manual pickup truck. He then trudged to his room and slowly changed out of his uniform and into his regular clothing that was thrown across his bed. The exhaustion of waking up early, going to school, going to work, and now walking towards the large outstanding church was beginning to weigh on him. But the thing was that Ryvv wasn't about to walk there, stay for only a few minutes, and then leave. Or even worse, walk up to 𝓂𝓪 face to face and straight up tell him that he didn't want to help out because of how tired he was. He was already walking down the sidewalk towards his destination. No way could he go back with his head hung down in shame after disappointing not only 𝓂𝓪, but the demon's younger sister as well. From the other houses and the forest of the trees, then came the church into Ryvv's periphery, and he could see 𝓂𝓪 assisting by carrying in boxes that were stacked up near the main entrance of the church. The demon didn't notice Ryvv at first, until Ryvv walked up and got a glimpse of what the inside of the place looked like. At least the main hall, that is. "I hope I'm not too late," he called out softly as 𝓂𝓪 walked inside. Ryvv felt a bit awkward just standing there, only letting a single person acknowledge their existence, but a typical smile that appeared across the demon's face then began to ease the tension. "Nope, we just started. Go grab some boxes." Okay." Ryvv smiled softly back up at 𝓂𝓪 before he disappeared into the bright pink environment. The dragonkin wasn't too sure of where to exactly store the boxes inside, as the church already seemed like a complex structure, including the main area. Ryvv walked over to where a small stack of boxes were standing vacant. Then he bent down to pick up a randomly placed box. It wasn't heavy, thankfully, and he didn't have much problem carrying the box inside down the aisles. A peculiar smell then hit him. Nothing revolting, only the smell of typical cooking. The color combinations of the church stood out greatly from the forest that surrounded the city and the neighborhood. But Ryvv also stood out greatly from the leafy greens and deep brown barks of the trees too. So, as he was thinking about it more and more, Ryvv actually paired quite well with the bright and soft tones of the church. Maybe paired with them too well, like a chameleon hiding from a predator. Ryvv could see that there were tables lined up, topped off with long white tablecloths that were adorned with pale red frill along the edges. He could hear noise coming from a doorway that was to the left of the podium. And then, at that moment, 𝓂𝓪 appeared once again to presumably get more boxes. 𝓂𝓪 saw Ryvv holding the one box. "Just in the kitchen. My mom's setting up in there," he spoke again. Ryvv, despite the now racing question of, is it really okay to just walk in like this, forced his legs to bring him into the kitchen, which he just had to make another left after stepping into the hallway. The dragon took notice of the size of everything, how the place was built, and what type of people it was made for. Ryvv walked into the kitchen that was twice the size of a regular one, and saw most of the boxes stacked in the corner of the room. But Ryvv also saw another person, a new person, the one that was cooking the food and causing the strong, pleasant smell. It didn't exactly hit him at first that the stranger was 𝓂𝓪 and 𝓑𝓵's mother, but she didn't even take notice of the dragonkin as well. The woman was as tall as 𝓂𝓪 was, with pink hair that was long, and what appeared to be one of those cheap nun costumes for Halloween, but this outfit looked like it was more put together than those. Ryvv went and set the box down along with the others when 𝓂𝓪 soon appeared once more, now carrying 4 boxes at a time. He watched in awe as a familiar face suddenly appeared in the doorway of the kitchen. "Ryvv?" 𝓑𝓵 called out from the hallway. This got their mother's attention. She first turned her head to look over at her daughter, then she turned to see the other side of the room. Her eyes landed on Ryvv, and she smiled. "Is this one of your friends?" she asked, and Ryvv felt a slight twinge of comfort from the gentle tone in her voice. 𝓑𝓵 nodded. "Yeah, she came over to help." The girl's smile was slight enough to go unnoticed. "Oh, has he come here to help out with the soup kitchen?" the woman asked. Yes, ma'am, Sullivan responded before he suddenly left the kitchen. Ryu then followed suit and met him outside the church where he was getting more boxes. Is that your mom? He asked softly. Sullivan nodded. She is. Her name is 𝓓𝓪. After setting up the table, the stacks of paper bowls along with the plastic spoons, and placing the food down, 𝓓𝓪, 𝓑𝓪, and friendly Ryu stood in their respective places behind the tables that they briefly discussed beforehand. We've never had an unruly guest come in, but I'll be right here if we get one, Sullivan spoke as he took his spot just behind the doorway leading down the hall. With doors propped open, people began to slowly pour in, mostly elderly people. But all who passed by them and greeted the three serving them seemed like they were genuinely kind people. Ryu had no idea when the church would then close, and nor was he given a reasonable time frame for that matter. And what Ryu had to presume was halfway through serving a slew of elderly people, he, of course, eventually began to zone out, and would have his arm automatically pour the beef stew into the flimsy paper bowl. Ryu gazed deep into the crowd of people in line, men, women, children, seniors, but what Ryu did see was someone familiar, someone who went to the same high school he attended, someone who had a particular history with Ryu. He didn't want to convince himself that he was really seeing him again, someone who he avoided like the plague, especially since Ryu would feel his heart leap up into his throat every time he saw him in the hallways. Him. Ryan. The name would put Ryu into a frenzy. Worst part was that he was somewhat well known around the school for being a bully, an asshole, though that could be the least of Ryu's worries. Even a completely innocent person who just so happened to be given the name at birth would make Ryu feel queasy. Ryu didn't catch himself bouncing his leg while he was standing there, making him look like a junkie who waited an hour to get a fix. The pace of himself serving people quickened. He wanted to look away from him, but he had to keep an eye on him to not lose track of him. Ryu didn't want him to come up and request something from the dragon, since he had already given him something before that ended in disaster. Ryu, thankfully, didn't have to come into direct contact with him, and he didn't see him at all after he finished having his moment of panic. And soon enough, 𝓓𝓪 and 𝓑𝓪 started to break down the tables and put them into storage. By then, Ryu was getting the strong urge to leave, for back home and into the safety of his bedroom. He then spotted Sullivan, who was beginning to sweep up the place, so he went to him for guidance. I'm tired. Ryu let out a sigh after getting the demon's attention. You can go home if you would like. I don't think my mom will make you stay any longer now. Sullivan responded, smiling down at the dragonkin, and the demon was met back with the soft gaze of Ryu's large, pretty eyes. Thank you. Ryu smiled softly. I'll see you tomorrow at school. Bye, shorty. Sullivan waved as Ryu left the church. See ya. Ryu lay down on his bed, texting away with his friends about the plans for meeting up with one of their longtime friends. But then he started to think about Sullivan, and didn't catch the feelings he would describe as wanting to speak to someone new, or at least newish in this case. He didn't waste any time going to message Sullivan. In Ryu's head, he just wanted to talk. At least that's what Ryu was thinking, because he felt his own heart racing with excitement as he was typing out an introduction.
Hi, it's me, Ryu. I don't know if you remember, but you did give me your number from after I first met you. So I'm just here to say hi.
Oh hey, sup?
I got back home a little bit ago. But I feel so damn tired.
Yeah, I feel that.
Wanna hear some of my music?
Sure, just sent me the link.
Here you go.
Sullivan tapped the link Ryu had sent to him, and it took him into an already opened app to play him the video. As he listened to the music, he began to let himself sink into it, like he was slowly sinking into a bath of tar. Trippy, pleasant, epic tar. Sullivan decided to only listen to a few minutes from the beginning of him opening the link, but now he was too enveloped in the intense music. But when the song finally finished, he immediately opened his messenger app to type a response to this beautifully crafted music.
It's pretty good. I like it.
Awesome, thank you.
No problem.
After sending that last message, Sullivan set his phone down before he went back to practicing his guitar, but then he heard his phone go off once more.
You're the first person I've sent this to. It's going to be part of an album I'm currently working on. Thank you still.
A sudden warmth along with a warm smile radiated from the demon. He let out in awe at the sight of the appreciative text message. Then he put his phone down once more and got back to tuning his guitar.